about 2 weeks ago, we launched the report, and every time I was on the radio, the public called. And I had a lot of questions launched at me. Some of them being, why are you not coming to our workplaces? You know, in our workplaces, there's a lot of discrimination. That CEE is useless. You guys don't know what you're doing, because we are experiencing a lot of discrimination in our workplace. And I realize that to a large extent, our people do not understand what the role of the CEE is. So I'd like to start off by just sharing very briefly what our mandate is. The CEE is a body that was enacted by the Employment Equity Act. And this body's primary mandate is to advise the minister on policy issues. So what we would do is to look at all the policy tools in the space of employment equity, and based on implementation, advise the minister on what we believe should be the amendments that should be made, what tools should be put in place to aid effective implementation, and also to comment on what is happening in the environment and assist the minister in thinking proactively about that.
Now, if you look at the statistics, you'll see the highest referring sector stroke industry is that of business professional, and after that, a close tie is the safety and security in the private sector. And then just a graph to show you, please, I have to tell you this, I have to show you this, just to show you how effective and expeditious the new system is. If you look at the number of awards being issued as a result of a con-op, you can see from that graph that the majority of arbitration awards are issued as a result of a con-op, not only an arbitration.
Now, with regards to enforcement, the sectoral approach to enforcement is emphasized as per discussions at NEDLAC. And in recognizing that there may be sectors where there may be higher degrees of non-compliance and enforcement, a few delegates did mention or bring that up yesterday in certain sectors, the department undertakes to prioritize such sectors where there are no formal agreements and mechanisms of enforcement. The department undertakes to strategically prioritize an action plan that identifies vulnerable sectors and areas with the purpose of maximizing resources over an initial period of time. These include domestic, farming, retail, security, construction, small business, and start with a focus on these vulnerable sectors where enforcement and compliance is minimal.
And so when Anna spoke to me and said, would you speak at this conference and speak specifically on dispute prevention and the role that the Ccma can play in dispute prevention and in training and capacity building. And if I have a look just to yesterday, the Honourable Minister Thulas Nxesi, when he spoke about shop stewards needing to be empowered, and he gave a very good example of the fire in PE, and he said shop stewards are the eyes and the ears on the ground. We, a little bit later, had Judge President Bashir Wagley, who was also a former mediator and arbitrator at IMSA, as were people like Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo and many, many other people. Even our president himself did training in Auckland Park in IMSA back in the 1980s as an attorney, but also in there. And I think that might give some ideas as to the strong focus that our president and other people have on consensus seeking, collaboration, co-determination, and how we can start to see that weaved through our Labour Relations Act and our other codes of good practice. But yesterday, our minister also spoke about the world of work rapidly changing. And he said we need to train, to retrain, and to upskill going forward.
You see, let me tell you this worry that I have with organized labor, and I've said it in the different forums, is that there are certain interesting issues that you ought to challenge, like this one, but you don't. You're waiting to do it if there's a case, then you change the law. But you don't have to do that. For example, I said, when you argue reinstatement and reemployment and back pay, and then you get compensation for 12 months, But until we calculated this thing, the employee has not only lost his wages in that period, he lost a lot more than that. From repossessed cars, eviction from the house, insurances, and anything else that was depending on that salary. So if I say you are reinstated with back pay, and even the increases that you ought to have received that you did not get, including certain special bonuses that you could have gotten but you didn't get. But we don't have the jurisdictional power to give it to you. But Section 158 has the power for damages, which you can then, over and above that, challenge the damages you suffered as a result of the dismissal, which is now declared to be unfair. So you have a legal basis to attack it. But organized labor is not challenging.